Welcome to the podcast of MotorWeek, television's original automotive magazine. MotorWeek is made possible by TireRack.com and by RockAuto.com. Here's your MotorWeek podcast host, John Davis.
And thank you, Alec Webb. Hello, everyone. I am John Davis, and welcome to MotorWeek podcast number 127. And in our studio today, we have our writer-producer, Brian Robinson.
Hello, John.
Our road test producer, Ben Davis.
Back at you.
No relation.
Nope.
Assistant producer, Greg Carlos.
That is me.
And our writer, Patrick Lucas.
That is me, yeah.
Who's also our producer.
Real original.
All right, we have a lot going on today. We have a lightning round of your question. We've got a rant and rave, and I've been warned that Ben's got something special up his sleeve. But first, into some of the cars that we've been testing lately on MotorWeek. First one, 2016 Chevrolet Volt. Greg, you've driven it. We've seen it. It looks a little more like a Prius. It's got a little more range. Is it worth the hoopla?
Yeah, I think so. Like you mentioned, it looks different. I think it looks better. I don't know about
you like
anybody
it better?
else. Yeah. I actually thought it blended in a little bit better than the old Volt. I think with the original Volt, they kind of had to make a splash. Like they wanted to have a car that said,
very futuristic.
Here I am. And now it's time to mature and get into that, lay back and make it look more like a traditional car. And I think
now
they've
wait a
done
minute.
that.
Wait a minute. I'm going to pick on you.
Pick on me.
It looks like a more traditional car only because it looks like a Prius.
I don't think it looks that
Yeah.
much like a Prius.
Nobody else thinks
there's
it?
a new
Well,
Prius
that's
now.
true.
It
That looks
an
less
old
like a Prius.
I thought it kind of just looks like every other new sedan. It looks like
And
looks
that's-
a lot like the new Civic. Looks a lot like the new Maxima.
Looks like the new Civic? Wow.
Yeah,
I
think
did.
that's what it seems to be. And that plays right into my point. They want it to blend in more. I think they didn't come out and say, "Hey, we want this car to blend in." But I think the goal was to mature it and make it look more conventional, and they did. It looks lighter. It is lighter because they've pretty much lightened everything. They've got new battery. They've actually lessened the amount of cells in it. There's fewer cells, but it's now up to like 18.4 kilowatt hours. There's a new two-motor drive unit, which it's different from the last one.
Pretty much all new, right?
Yeah, pretty much all new. It's there's a new range extender, which is actually an engine. It's a 1.5 liter engine.
Did you find it quieter? Because the big beef on the old
It is.
one,
It's
pretty
quieter.
loud.
It's quieter. The engine, the powertrain is all quieter. There's still a little bit of noise coming in from those low rolling resistance tires, but there's nothing much you can do about that.
What about the back seat? Everybody complained, and I don't think it was legitimate that it was only 2 seats, and now supposedly they've got this little cushion for a third spot. Is that real or just sort of cosmetic?
No, you could probably put someone back there, but I'm certainly not going to spend any real time back there because
Greg is well over 6 foot tall. Everybody,
and that's I had no headroom. Actually, absolutely no headroom. I had to lean uncomfortably back just to have any headroom.
so it's still a hatchback.
Right, exactly. So don't put anybody you really love back there or anybody who's really big. Don't
Put someone you hate back there.
Yeah, don't put them back there. But no, as far as driving the car goes, it certainly feels lighter. It's more fun to drive, actually, as long as you don't really push it to its limits. And one of the new things that I like is the regen on demand. Mm-hmm. We saw it in the ELR. That's where you can actually pull on a paddle behind the wheel, and you get some regen braking, which, some people don't like it. It is a little bit aggressive, I think, but it's still pretty useful, I think, when instead of having to tap on the brake and, it's just as easy just to pull on a little paddle on the back of the wheel.
And it does extend your range.
Yep.
Is there a lot of those electric cars or hybrids have those like that B mode where it's basically like aggressive
And brake.
when you just get off the throttle?
No, it doesn't
And
feel.
it
No,
slows down?
that's I think the paddle is like that. So yeah, but it's the big thing with the new two-motor drive unit now is it used to be like one larger one and one smaller one. They've actually I guess made one smaller, and they're now similar in size, and they now split the workload more evenly. And they also, the old one didn't drive the wheels as often. Now it's much more evenly split that way.
That was a big controversy when it first started because there was one circumstance where you had to be like over 60 miles an hour and it would drive a wheel, where up to that point GM had said there was no mechanical contact. Now they are using it more of a helper?
Yep. They actually are advertising that it is using it more often. It extends your range a little bit better.
That makes it more like a traditional hybrid.
Yeah, it does, but they refuse to call it a hybrid.
sure they
It's
did.
not a hybrid. So
They're still calling it a plug-in electric car.
Yep.
Okay, let's move to something completely different.
Hey, thank you. I appreciate that.
The
job with that
BMW
haircut.
pair of Gran Coupes we just had in. We had the 16640 XI Gran Coupe, which was basically a reface, and we had a 15435i Gran Coupe. Okay, Gran Coupes, 4 doors that look like 2-door convertible. Coupes. Actually, in this case, you can't even call them both sedans. What do you think? Are these cars ever going to be accepted by, I guess, the mainstream, even though they are selling, I guess, very well? What do you think of them?
Yeah, you just answered your question there. BMW claims that 6 Series half sales now are Gran Coupe.
It's amazing.
Wow.
Yeah, that's amazing.
People
why
like
is that?
I think they just like the more style and
And the
something a little
versatility.
different.
I know
it's
why I
more
like
versatile.
it. I know I like just having that rear door to throw stuff in, because I always have stuff to throw in the back. It's just way easier than pulling the seat forward.
And
But
yet you've got the coupe look, which to me still says impractical. But go ahead.
Somewhat. They don't really look that much like coupes.
they're big.
Yeah, everything pretty much has that same roof line now, whether you call it a Gran Coupe or not.
So it's like if you want a sedan, but you don't
Well-
like the only sedan that BMW made. Like you don't like the 3 Series sedan.
No, like the
you
5
want
Series.
So you want the 4 Series Gran Coupe. I
Or
really
you don't
get it.
like the 7.
Right, I'm just saying,
Right.
like it's a similar size. It's more or less the same exact size
Yeah,
vehicle
most
as like a
of the
3 Series
interior
sedan now,
dimensions
right?
are actually less than the
Well, yeah,
the
exactly.
3
So
sedan.
I
So
just
the only
don't get it.
benefit of the 4, it's a hatchback, so you can get some
Right.
bigger things in the rear.
And a well done one. It until I realized it was a hatchback, you walk up, it looks like it's got a traditional trunk. That's
Which
probably
the
one of the
6
best I've
Series,
ever
despite
seen.
being called Gran Coupe, also is a traditional trunk. So
Right.
I did. The 6 Series did feel surprisingly small inside, not in a bad way, in a good way. It felt very like tight,
Cozy, tight,
cozy,
intimate.
tight, and like sporty. So,
Which
I
is
could see the-
traditionally what the 6 Series 2-door always felt
Right,
like.
and
you
I
got
can
in and you
appreciate
said,
that.
this is a big car, but it felt intimate. But these things are I have to tell you, when I never thought these cars would sell that well because they're all style. But there just goes to show people love good-looking cars. Anything else about how about the 4, since that's really the new one, and impress you? Did it feel heavier than a 4?
I would say it felt heavier, but unlike the 6 Series, I thought it actually felt bigger inside than like a 4 Coupe or 3 sedan. It felt plenty roomy in there.
Was it? I can't remember because I feel like we've driven a lot of these lately. Which was it? The 2 Series that would push the seatbelt forward? Because I know what I was really
2
upset
Series
about.
convertible, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah. Because
Yeah, I remember
what
that.
really upset me in both of these, I believe, the 4 Series Gran Coupe and the 6 Series, was having to reach super
all the
far
way
back
back.
to get that seatbelt. And it's like, why would they not put that
Yeah.
system in that car?
With the 6 Series, the Gran Coupe we have now, you still have to reach pretty far back unless
Yeah.
you. But I noticed that the seat belt is incorporated into the seat, which is what they need to do on the convertible.
And that's what
So it's backwards.
So they have the technology.
that's what Tesla has done with the new SUV. They've incorporated that. So yeah, it can be done. Okay, let's move on to our third car for this podcast that we've covered recently. And this one, the Volvo XC90. Long time coming. When I first saw this, I said, gee, Willikers, they've really gone back to looking more like station wagons with that long nose, and probably most of that is because of the European pedestrian crash standards. But the one we drove, I was very impressed. It's big, though. It feels much bigger than the old XC90. Comments, Volvo XC90. Lots of people are waiting for it. Seems to already be selling well.
It's not going to disappoint. It's stunning in person. Very beautiful car.
Yeah.
And I love the technology. I love the touchpad. It's very intuitive and easy to learn.
Had good safety systems, too, which they're known for, but they all seem to work.
Yeah, and the what kind of worried me at first is the motor is turbocharged and supercharged.
And supercharged. Very
And
complicated.
4-cylinder. Well, that's-
Yeah.
Yeah, that's going to
And
be.
this is a big vehicle.
Yeah, it's got plenty of power for its size, especially. But yeah, I don't know how I feel about future
And
repairs
the
on that.
longevity on that engine.
I'm sure it's legit, but then again, I'm sure it is.
Well, everybody knows a Volvo is fairly expensive to maintain after the warranty runs out anyway. So in that aspect, it can't be a surprise to owners.
I'd be scared to buy a used one, maybe.
My question is, we had, what was it called, the Inscription?
Yeah.
Top of the line.
It's not the top.
I think the art design.
It is not the top of the line.
It's not.
I think art
It's
design
not,
is
Patrick.
top of
Just
the line.
let everybody know.
It
that
was
it's not the top of the
a
line.
new luxury level, or it was the name. They started using the name on the sedan, right? The long wheelbase sedan that they built for China. That was the first use of that name. Anyway, go ahead.
I don't know. My question is, since we only had that one, and that had great tech, which that was what we were most impressed with, I think.
Yeah, the technology.
But how much do you have to pay? Like, what if you get into a base one? How much of that tech are you really getting? You're not getting, I'm assuming, the air suspension, which was pretty incredible in that thing.
No air suspension, but you get the full Sensus touchscreen, all that stuff. Of course, all the safety.
Yeah.
So you do get that touchscreen no matter what.
Yeah.
That's a big
That's
deal.
standard, for $50,000, which is a really low base price for that segment.
That's about what ours was, right? And it was partially
no, that's the
auto.
base. I think ours
wasn't too terrible.
Ours was pushing 70, wasn't it?
Yeah, but what are you comparing it to? It compares to Mercedes and BMWs that cost another $20,000 more. It's a bargain for what it is.
I think so. I think extremely well equipped for the price.
I think it's much larger inside than those two. It's actually
feels
something
like it.
you could compare with an American full-size SUV.
I felt like I was
Like every other Volvo, the seats were incredible.
Yeah.
And definitely a long distance, comfortable vehicle.
It's nice to see them bring out something that is probably going to be a home run for them, especially at the upper end of the market. They've had a long slog back, but it looks like the XC90 might play a good role in that.
If they step up all that material quality and stuff like that with the XC90, if they start putting that in their, which I'm assuming they are, in their smaller cars like the S60 or something like that, I think they're going to be like an actual legitimate rival to like a BMW. I know we've been talking about it like they
forever.
They almost always kind of are, but I I think they legitimately would be.
I've seen
have
several
new
on the
owners.
streets already, so
They
people
had
are
the,
eager.
They had the plug-in hybrid version coming out, the T8 with like 400 horsepower. So that should be that should wake things up too.
Yeah. Ooh. Okay, it's time to move on to our lightning round where our panelists have 2 minutes to debate a trending automotive topic. When time's up, they'll hear the bell. Thank you, Patrick. Oh, boy. The VW diesel scandal. We all know the dirty details.
Pun intended.
What do you think is going to be the long-term impact? I'll set the stage by saying most of you are too young to remember when General Motors pretty much killed light-duty passenger car diesels in the 80s. Here we are in the 2100s, or the 2000s anyway.
2100s.
You can't
Maybe I'll
compare
live
those
for
two
that.
situations.
Why not? Why can't you compare them? Seriously.
Well, because the TDI is an awesome motor. I mean, it is awesome.
Just because the GM one was a piece of junk.
Yeah, that was
but
the problem.
think
with
about
that
how
motor.
it plays out in the public. Forget that you're an
Better start that
automotive.
clock,
I'm
Patrick.
just going to start the timer.
Forget that you're an automotive rider. If you're general public, you've heard nothing now for weeks, but just this rant and rave how horrible they are. Turns out Consumer Reports just did a test, and they weren't nearly as bad as I thought they were going to be.
Oh.
But anyway.
Surprise, surprise.
Yeah.
People overreact to something.
But that's just my point.
It's every TDI owner I've talked to is still very patriotic with their TDIs, and I think that they'll stick with them till the end. And if they do issue some kind of recall where they do a software flash, then I feel that these owners are just going to search out some aftermarket flash to get it back to where it was before.
Yeah,
Or they'll delay it.
I'm sure that every person who has bought a TDI bought it for the fuel economy, not for the emissions.
Oh, they bought it for the
Quality of
power
it.
and the fuel
Right,
economy.
so
Yeah,
they're not.
of
I'm
course.
sure the average
Because
TDI
if you really were
does
that
not
conscious
care.
about the environment, you would have bought an
I'm
electric
sure-
vehicle.
No, you
I'm
wouldn't
sure
drive at
there's
all.
a-
You'd ride a
right.
bike everywhere.
There's
That's
a
true,
small
man.
chunk of those buyers that did it for the greenness of the planet.
And
I'm
they live in
sure.
California.
Yeah, there's a small chunk.
To
that are
VW's
upset.
credit, they're out and about. They're not trying to hide anything. They're trying to get in front of it.
Hell, after
a lot
basically
of-
lying for a year.
A lot of times it's the cover-up that gets you into more trouble than actually what you did wrong. But so
I guess you're more positive than I am. I think it's going to, it's 40% of their sales. I think they're going to have a hard time getting anybody back into those for a long time to come.
Do you think it's really going to affect people buying any kind of diesel? Like,
well,
maybe like say like the new Colorado's got that Duramax coming
and
out.
already California has said that they won't certify that until they do their own on-road testing. So now we're going to be into a world of on-road testing where you have no scientific, calibration to back it up. I think it's a mess.
It could drive people to make more efficient diesel engines, though. If this testing is going to be a lot more strict, then
let's
maybe
face
the
it,
technology will be forced to get better.
All they did was cheap out when they built it and didn't want to add a urea tank.
Right, which now they have.
Had they done, there wouldn't be an issue. So, moving forward, all they got to do, not that it's small, but all they have to do is design the next Gulf-based, Jetta-based TDIs with a urea tank, and everybody's still going to be on board.
Our table is full of optimists today. That's good.
We just like TDIs.
It's hard to say. It's a great
on a TDI.
And there's more TDIs
great engine
besides that 2-liter.
Time will tell. All right, what are we doing? Glenn, we have a viewer question.
Glenn has some money,
Glenn has
apparently.
Glenn's got money. He says, I've just purchased a 2014 Audi R8 with 3,400 miles on it. I wish I was Glenn. It's still under the factory warranty. I was looking for an extended warranty to purchase that would give me an extra couple of years coverage at the end of 4 years. What do you think of that idea?
Well, I'm more impressed that he plans on keeping in the R8 that long than anything else. Most people that buy those cars flip them pretty quick, like the guy he's buying this one off of, with 3,400 miles. But I don't know about extended warranties. Obviously, I've never been in the position to buy this type of vehicle, but
I think it all comes down to price.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of extended warranties.
I'd have to know how often he's planning on actually driving this car. Really?
Well, yeah. If he's talking about
Let's call him up and wait.
At the end of 4 years, if he's got 18,000 miles on it, it's probably a waste of money.
Yeah.
Otherwise, Audis can get hugely expensive to fix.
Yeah, I'd say if you're planning on putting 60,000 miles on it or so in the period of time that you're concerned about having a warranty on it, then I would do it, however much it costs, because you might need it.
Yeah,
it's a pretty delicate vehicle.
But it's hard to cheap out now, right? It's like you've already got the
maybe
R8.
maybe money's not really that much of a factor.
If money's not that big a factor to him, then I think I'd save the money and put it in the bank or invest it, and instead of giving it to an insurance company where, after all, these things are very negotiable. He could be quoted anything from $5,000 to $10,000 for an extended warranty.
What kind of deal he got on this? Was this like after the new R8? I assume it's already after the new R8's come out.
Probably so.
You probably don't want to know the details.
Yeah,
I kind of do.
It's probably pretty durable, though. I wouldn't really. It's not really a super fragile vehicle. You could probably beat it up pretty
aspirated.
Good. Yeah,
I just think about all those things that go wrong with Audis. Talk to Pat Goss. Well, anyway, Glenn, I hope that asks. I think the consensus in here has been, unless you're really a fear of it, save your money, put it in the bank, go take a trip to Acapulco, do something else with it. Let's move on now to our rant and rave. Has anyone got something on their mind? Ben, what have you got?
This has been bothering me. All right.
Should we put a timer on this?
You might have to. He's been fuming about this for a while.
Let him go. Let him go.
All right, Chrysler and Dodge. Their cars make me extremely happy, but their logo choices have made me extremely sad. Now, why would Chrysler adopt a wing and a spelled-out Chrysler name when they had such a powerful, iconic Pentastar from back in the day? And arguably, Chrysler's holding on to their old styling more than Chevy or Ford, I would say, with the Charger and the Challenger. And Dodge, it's spelled out Dodge with 2 red hash marks. Come on, man. Remember the Dodge triangle from back in the day with the black pointed spears on it? These emblems have been associated more with raw power and sheer muscular design throughout the course of automotive history than these lame logos from today. And on another hand, companies that should actually change their logo, like Ford, never will. Weigh in.
Such passion.
Why should they change it?
Well, why is Chrysler changing theirs?
Because they needed to. I think they needed to.
I think you're right, actually, Greg.
I would love to see that.
Ford.
I would
When
love
you
to see
change your
that,
image, you change your
Well, here
your
and then
brand,
here. So here's. I'll throw another one
everything.
out there. Kia. If Kia is going to rebuild themselves as this I think they're trying to be like a young, energetic brand. They got to do something about their logo too. That thing is just lame.
That's a terrible logo.
They got to if they're going to rebrand, they got to start with that and really go to find some 18-year-old who is on Twitter all day and get him to design you.
There's always two levels of thought when it comes to this stuff. One is the traditionalists who don't want any change and are afraid that if you change it, it will be unrecognizable, like Chrysler. Chrysler went back to the old wing, which nobody that's alive even knows about.
And even they're trying to do it with Dodge Brothers, with the Dodge Brothers logo. This stuff, that's too old.
I don't know what the answer is. It seems like every time a manufacturer can't really come up with a decent new car, they either change a name or they change a logo. It's like cosmetics.
Can there be a third thing where people just don't care? You either like the car or you don't. Why do I care whether it's got wings on it or Dodge Brothers hash marks?
Wouldn't you like to see that 200 with a nice Pentastar logo on the back that you grew up with?
I think the Pentastar's dead.
That Pentastar logo reminds me of as a kid, like decaying car dealerships like that.
It's like come drive the new K car.
Yeah,
well, it's because we're younger. That's
right.
How we.
I guess that's quasi answered my question.
Come on, Dad. All right, that's Ben's Rant and Rave. I think it's a good point, though. The industry often changes names and logos, and it often doesn't make sense. And how many times do they do that and then 4 or 5 years later go back to the old name?
Well, there's a lot that don't, like Mercedes, Audi. These logos have stood the test of time for sure.
Yep,
because they're good the first time.
Even Toyota.
Well, I mean,
they still make subtle tweaks to them here and there, bigger, smaller.
Oh, sure,
change the script,
but not.
And with that whimper, we bring to an end MotorWeek podcast number 127.
Thank you.
I want to thank Brian Robinson, Ben Davis, Greg Carlos, and Patrick Lucas. Also, our audio engineer, Jillian Cookman, our podcast creator, Bob Mixter, and, of course, Patrick Lucas, as always, has produced it.
And our studio audience.
And our studio audience, which we have in the studio today. Thank you very much for listening to our podcast and for watching MotorWeek on public television stations everywhere and on the Velocity channel. I'm John Davis. For all of us at MotorWeek, thank you, and we hope you'll follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. See you soon.
You have been listening to the podcast of MotorWeek, television's original automotive magazine. MotorWeek is made possible by TireRack.com and by RockAuto.com. For additional information on podcasts, videos, and showtimes, visit our website at motorweek.org. And watch MotorWeek, television's longest-running automotive magazine series, each week on your local PBS station.